Hi, I'm Mahmoud. How you guys doing? Lately, I've had the pleasure of recording a few guitarists in the studio, and there was this pattern that I noticed of guitarists struggling with very specific things in the studio rhythmically. Of course, it's not always the case, and not with every riff or all the time while we record, but it's this pattern that I noticed, and I want to remedy that. I want to try and remedy that. So, there's this exercise that I've stolen from drummers, basically, and they call it the subdivision pyramid. This is something that I don't consider you're ever going to be done with. Like, this is something that is ongoing forever from now till the end of time, basically. It's something that I certainly practice almost every time I pick up the guitar. And there's a bunch of these forever exercises, and I want to get to them at some point. But for now, let's start with the subdivision pyramid and how you can implement that in your everyday playing. Basically, very simple. You start off at whatever tempo you think you should start at. Start slower than you think. And you start with quarter notes. Then after one bar, you play eighth notes, and then eighth note triplets, and then 16th notes, and you go back down. Or maybe even you add 16th note triplets. You could do that as well. And you go up and back down, and you loop that. Why is that so helpful? First of all, it gets you to transition between these different subdivisions at the same tempo. And it forces you to think about the next step, as well as it forces you to play very slowly. Because if you're going to go up all the way to 16th notes or even 16th note triplets, that's going to be fast at certain tempos, especially if it's like above, I don't know, 160. It's going to get really, really, really fast. That's one thing. The other thing is, I think that exercise lends itself really well to practicing in three different ways. One is on a single string, just palm muted. The second one is also on a single string, but open, because that's going to feel vastly different with your right hand. And lastly, but not least, do that on all of the strings. And if you want to push it even further, do it on all the strings, alternating, and go crazy, go wild with it. But here's the basic exercise. Let's say we have a tempo of, I don't know, something like this. You start off with quarters, and then you do eighth notes. And then you do 16 triplets. And then you do 16th notes. And then you go back down. Relatively simple, right? There's nothing crazy about that at all. However, looping that is going to change so much for your right hand, and getting really serious with it changes your playing fundamentally. Seriously. I've been practicing this for almost 10 years now, ever since I was taught that exercise. Sometimes I just sit in front of a TV and go, even just with one subdivision is enough to, help your time. Obviously, you need to be doing this with a metronome. Not all the time. I don't think playing to a metronome all the time is as valuable as people think, because at some point you got to develop your inner time. But playing to a metronome with this exercise forces you to stay right on time. Also, what this exercise does is it forces you to focus on your up pick as well, because if you're going to go, like, maybe at some tempos you can manage to do 8th note triplets all down picked, but at 16th notes chances are you're going to have to do up pick. So it forces your up pick to become stronger as well. Now let's do this exercise, and I'm gonna play along to a drum loop that I programmed that does all of these subdivisions, goes up, back down, and that is pretty much the whole exercise. Literally, do that and your rhythm is gonna get so much better. And I promise you, if you focus and you're actually honest with yourself with this exercise, things are gonna improve so quickly for you. Let's do it. Now, I've only showed you the palm muted version of this exercise, but you can try and do this with open strings, multiple strings, and try and keep your technique consistent across the strings as well. This is something that I've noticed happen as well. Let me just activate that second camera. And here's the thing, when you change strings, guitarists tend to be really good at the lower strings. But as soon as it goes like from here to the unwound strings, for some reason guitarists tend to change their technique. Don't change your technique. That technique applies across all strings. You might need to change your positioning slightly with your forearm, something like that. But generally speaking, there's no need to change that. Stick with the same technique across all of the strings. Do it closed and open. If you want, you can even get chords in there. Like instead of playing just one string, you can do. And so on. Yeah, that's your first forever exercise, and I hope you stick with it, and I hope it actually improves your playing. It certainly improved mine. All right, I've been Mahmoud. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if this helped you. Leave your thoughts, and I will see you next time. I think that's it. Take care.